Napoleonic's series.
Hey everybody, I'm back with a pretty special video to share. I'm excited to show this one off. It is a little bit lengthy, so get your popcorn and settle on in. I've been batch painting some Victrix Fusiliers and trying to document my progress in my painting process with this cool camera here. I've been up to some other things too. Whoop, that might be a spoiler there. But yeah, but amidst me painting all of these Fusiliers from Victrix, you know, I kind of got a little burnt out and I wanted to do something different. And I've been watching a lot of movies while I paint. So without further ado, here is my latest inspiration, my latest project. At a very early age, I was captivated by war and its history. I read everything I could on every war that I could. I watched every movie that I could get my hands on that depicted any kind of historical conflict. I became a stickler for realism at a young age. I was like the Inspector General of my G.I. Joes. If there was a detail wrong, I would find it and fix it. And then at some point, I discovered the true grisly nature of war in itself, and it captivated me as well. I would get called on in class, you know, to answer a question or something, and I couldn't answer the question, usually because my brain was thinking about this. John, do you know the square root of... Ma'am, I don't even know what subject we're in, because do you understand that I'm over here thinking about D-Day? Often as I'm painting, I'll wonder, I'm like, what must it felt like to have a man aim a musket at you and know that you're about to be on the receiving end of a volley of lead, and you're likely going to get turned into Swiss cheese, and if not, you probably will soon. Can you imagine waking up and having to get yourself out of bed knowing that you're walking into that? I was watching All Quiet on the Western Front as I was painting these Fusiliers, and you know, I mentioned in a previous video the mud and the bloody mud was something that I wanted to, you know, kind of explore from a creative outlet, and a lot of the imagery in that movie and the setting kind of inspired me to do so. And so I made this little creative piece here, and it got a pretty good reception on Reddit, so I figured I would go ahead and make another one. And here it is. So, bust out your popcorn, get on your cozy socks, and let's make a gruesome Napoleonic casualty diorama depicting the realities of warfare together. This isn't a tutorial or anything like that. This is just me documenting my experience on this project and having fun doing it. So, let's get into it. So, as you previously saw, I kind of try to play around with some of the models that I'm going to use and figure out some shapes, kind of get a general idea of the vision that I want, and then I'm going to shape terrain with some mounting putty. Gorilla Glue mounting putty, super cheap. You can get like a 3-pack for like $6 and you'll have a lot. Not only can you use it to mount your models on your painting handles, but you can use it to make terrain, as I've been doing it. And here I am just like adding some texture, because this I had envisioned of like a mound essentially, or like a crater that had been maybe a howitzer dropped and exploded, or a heavy percussion shell, or you know, something moves the earth there. Maybe we can figure it out. And so now I'm just trying to place some models in some places, trying to figure out what I like. I'm trying to find something that seems natural, like they fell and plopped into this mud. So it's time to start putting the vision down. I'm fairly confident of the arrangement that I want to go with. And one thing that I really want to have on here is a bunch of debris, like all the things that they dropped when they were hit by screaming lead projectiles, and and like the certain just chaotic arrangement of their equipment that dropped, and yeah, just kind of like moving things around here and just getting a feel for things and getting before we commit and move on. But yeah, I want there to be scattered, chaotic debris everywhere. One thing that I wanted to like try and really depict in these little pieces is that these soldiers don't have very pretty deaths, you know, like they're gonna die and be left in mud, and they come out in these beautiful colors and these uniforms. And that's one thing I really enjoyed about All Quiet on the Western Front, is you saw how excited the youth were to participate in this war, and then subsequently where they'll be left off. Now, there was that one little image of that face in the Free State of Jones clip that looked like it got hit by a cannonball or some shrapnel shot, and that inspired me to kind of just have like a head that is unrecognizable, that was once a human face that said hello and how are you doing, and was just completely destroyed. And so I trimmed it down a little bit, tried to cut the bottom half of the jaw off to where you could see the eyes and maybe like the bridge of the nose, and that was about it. And then here I am just doing a little bit more sculpting. Just trying to make it look as if like shrapnel had impacted in the center and shot up and out.
I shall slay all of Rome's enemies.
That's it. Thanks for watching. That's the piece, guys. Just kidding. Just having a little bit of fun. But that is kind of cool. That does look a little cool. And makes me wonder about Napoleon's opinion on the Roman Empire. Anywho, back to business. I have committed to this arrangement. It looks pretty sick. It looks scattered, chaotic, and gnarly. Let's go with it. Oh, whoa! You know, I stay priming in Chaos Black, and you can really see, like, now that it's all one tone, it looks pretty cool. It gives me some Han Solo vibes. And also, on my next one that I make, I'm going to do it on the opposite end, because look at that. Now we're on to the real fun part. We're adding some tuft and some flowers. We're making it come alive. And after that, I'm adding white as a base coat on the trousers and the facings and the packs and a few other things. It's already coming alive. So it just already looks sick. And that's me expressing how excited I was just to paint those trousers white and just to see what it did to the piece. Just like to add a little color. And that's the thing about painting that's so much fun, is like, even just that little bit, like I got so excited, and it helped, it motivated me, it gave me momentum to push forward through the project. One of my favorite painters on YouTube is Mezgeik, and he paints his own models, but one thing he says, he has a lot of great knowledge and wisdom, and one thing he says is you got to push through the ugly parts, and you're gonna have parts in your painting that things are gonna look weird and you're not gonna like them, and you have to push through them, and eventually it'll come together. And that's kind of, you know, you gotta enjoy the little parts. And he's been a big inspiration to me, so check out his channel, he's dope. And I'm about to paint some of his orcs pretty soon, the brothers. Got the white done, looking pretty good. Onto the blue and the red. We're getting close to the real fun part. And another thing I wanted to say is thanks for the love, everybody on my channel who has liked, commented, engaged, subscribed, whatever it is, said a nice compliment in the comments, provided me with a historical accuracy, whatever it is. I really enjoy engaging with you guys, and it's been such a welcoming community, and I really am looking forward to the future with this hobby. So thanks again, everybody. So we're starting to close in on finishing up my guys here, and there's a lot of painting footage that I'm I wasn't able to upload because I simply just took footage of my hands painting. And I'll try my best to get better at that and trying to figure out a good setup to where I can film my painting process without having to film, look over 45 minutes of my hands. But anywho, it's time to get our mud on. We got the guys painted up. I used Reichland Flesh Shade on the faces. I'm pretty excited about the faces on these guys. And it's really hard to do them justice with the camera. I wish you could all pick this piece up and look at it. Maybe one day you will be able to, but pretty much we're just spreading the mud through here on all of the elevated putty. And yeah, it's Sterling Battlemire. Sterling Battlemire and Sterling Battle Mud. I'm probably going to use Vallejo moving forward. But this has worked well for me. And just doing some more detail on the muskets that I missed out on. And this is where I started adding highlights to the mud with some different tones. And I really just kind of wanted to mix up the terrain and kind of try and step my basing up and really make this look as like vivid and striking and realistic as possible. I want you to look above this and be like, wow, that looks like some mud that's been trodden through. Honestly, on its own with just mud would look pretty cool, but we have to continue to push the pace or break the envelope or push the boundary, whatever the saying is. We're going to add the flock mix that I've used in some previous videos, just like dirt and some rocks and some grass, and we're seasoning from above and just kind of mashing that flock and grass mixture into the glue, like just smush it in there. And yeah, I wanted this to look like a battlefield that's been torn apart, by movement and activity. It's been rained on a few times, maybe it's dried a day, rained again, and the activity has just torn the ground apart. And so there's bits of grass and mud and all kinds of just gross, sloshy conditions. So I bought that Modern Earth for a Lord of the Rings project rather compulsively, and it's been sitting around, so I figured I would use it on this crater cannonball howitzer kind of mound here, as if something had exploded or a canister shell or something had gone off. And either way, it added some depth. I probably could have used black paint, but why not use the technical paint, why not? I'm very proud of this detail. I had to break the envelope, like I said earlier, and nailed this little detail on the shako of this Voltigear. And boom, I got the red, white, and blue on that detail. Pretty stoked about that. And for the most part, it's finished, and it's time to add the blood, the moment we've all been waiting for. And unfortunately, I filmed my hand for 17 minutes. And for the bullet wounds, I tried to make, I would do a little black and then paint around it to make it look as if it was seeping from the wound into the cloth, and it turned out pretty cool. And then also I busted out the Malgnit green. It's like a Nurgle green, and I kind of had some Death Marsh vibes here, if you're familiar with the Death Marshes in Lord of the Rings, and wanted to make the ground look a little bit more foul and just sticky and marshy. And a few more details here, some more highlighting on the terrain, and it's starting to look really good. If we're doing gore effects, one must do splatter somewhere. So I went and found this little brush that you get with a razor, and that's, I'm not going to clean my razor, so obviously going to use this to do blood splatter. And we did a lot of blood splatter on these little flowers. Looks pretty cool. Now we're going back over the blood and just adding some more depth. Actually, no, I'm applying Ard Coat, which is a gloss varnish. and I'm adding it to the mud that I want to look wet and the blood that is bleeding into the mud that I want to look like it's actively bleeding, because it will dry and it won't look this way. And I wanted some of these pieces to look pretty, you know, active, like things had just happened. Now I know I wanted a flag hanging, and that looks silly. And when you Google battle-worn flag, the results are corny and hilarious. So I just kind of came up with my own. I went in my room and held a pillowcase at this angle, and this is what I came up with. I just kind of went at it with a little knife. I hit some of the spots with Newell oil to make it look like, you know, black powder and stuff, and I got this tattered up flag, something that had been left behind in defeat. And the model's essentially done, but we have one more element that we need to add that's gonna really make this thing pop off. But man, that flag looks really cool. I love the way it came out. It looks tattered, but it's epoxy time, and this is what's really gonna set it off. We're gonna use these colors to come up what I call scum water.
Oh, gross.
Like a nasty, gross mud water that you can barely see through. We're gonna create a Scotch tape dam to hold the epoxy in so it doesn't ooze over the edge. And then put your paints in there until you get a color that you are happy with. Now, epoxy needs a cure time, and allegedly some paints can mess up the curing process, like the pigments and the epoxy don't react well together. So you should do a test batch if it's your first time doing it. Mine worked out. This is the color I got. It looks gross and scummy and not like something I would want to perish in. But let's use some gravity and the Citadel texture tool to kind of smush this around and get a bog puddle look. You can see a couple examples, but I used the texture tool to make footprints in the mud as well, to imply that, you know, they were a part of an advance or a counter-offensive or something like that, and were strucken down on their way forward. And then here I'm just guiding some more blood into the puddles to make it look as if they bled into the puddles, and it's kind of been swashed around a little bit and is bled, and the volumes don't mix quite well, and we're done. Now we just have to let it cure. I couldn't help myself but to put up a couple other pieces to it. Here we have Rouillet and Jean-Baptiste looking over the men that have sacrificed their lives for the French Empire, and I wonder what they were thinking when they saw these types of things. It's now the next day, and wow, it looks so cool in the morning light. The epoxy cured well. Oh my god, look at it in the morning light. I mean, this is amazing, and I'm really excited with this. I'm stoked. Let's take some pictures so I can show it to you guys on the web. And Mocha Bean approves. Thank God. And so here it is. Moving forward, I'm gonna do more pieces like this. I had like an intimate time painting this thing up, and it's gruesome and disgusting, much like war itself. And like I'm not here celebrating violence or anything like that. I don't want people to get that notion. But, you know, a lot of times wargaming is kind of focused on the prim and proper units and things, and this is in reality what happened to those guys. Like, they, you know, in every generation of warfare, these young men went out and they were left in the mud to die for the ambitions of the men and the crowns and the empires and the monarchs that they served. And it's an unfortunate tale, but I mean, it is truly a part of it. And there's many depictions of this type of thing in art and in the history of art. And when I see things like this in art and in media, I always try to remember that each one of these guys had a favorite flavor of something.